engagement there.
You're listening to Head South Radio with your host, Kat Meyer, a podcast dedicated to prioritizing pleasure and removing the stigma and shame around sex. We're here to be curious and have an open conversation about sexual health and relational wellness. This podcast is intended for educational and entertainment purposes. The information discussed is not a substitute for professional medical advice.
Hi, I'm your host, Kat Meyer. If you didn't know, April is Couples Appreciation Month. I honestly don't know what that means, but my personal interpretation of this is appreciating the work it takes to be in a couple, because it's fucking hard to be human, and it's even harder to be in partnerships. To get started on this Quickie episode, I wanted to share a little bit about my personal history and my thoughts on being a part of a couple. I've been in a few long-term relationships for a majority of my adult life. I've cohabitated with 4 partners over the past 2 decades. I've been engaged once and almost sort of engaged on a separate occasion. I've been in open relationships and I've been in secret relationships. I've experienced the mind-blowing, heart-racing, curiosity-inducing ecstasy and excitement of falling madly in love. And I've experienced the pain, grief, and guilt of breaking up and dismantling a shared life. More recently, I try not to use titles or labels to define the people I am in relationships with. I look at love as expansive and not finite. And lastly, I make a conscious effort to choose my partners every day. When I think about how I view relationships and my philosophy on romantic love, I think of John Lennon, who said, "They made us believe that each of us is half of an orange and that life only makes sense when you find the other half. They did not tell us that we were born whole and that no one in our lives deserves to carry on their backs such a responsibility of completing what is missing from us. We grow through life by ourselves. If we have good company, it's just more pleasant." I want to share a few of my favorite bits of relationship advice that all hover around the same ideology. The first one comes from my friend Anton, who told me he wakes up every morning and chooses his partner. Don't just fall in love. Choose who you love, and choose who you love every day. Another solid piece of advice comes from my mother, who was once asked, "What is the secret to long-lasting marriage?" Her response was, "It's not 50-50. My mother was referring to a relationship math, which suggests that you are a whole being. Just like John Lennon said, we are 100% ourselves, and we meet another human who is 100% themselves. I agree with my mother and John Lennon. When I am 100% myself, the responsibility falls on me for all of my emotions and feelings, all of my choices. The expectation of my partner fulfilling or completing me in any way is frankly impossible." The third piece of advice comes from my friend Mason, who has always encouraged me to try not to use labels. The actor Stephen Fry said, "We are not nouns, we are verbs. I am not a thing, an actor, a writer. I am a person who does things. I write, I act, and I never know what I'm going to do next. I think you can be imprisoned if you think of yourself as a noun." In relationships, I am not a girlfriend, but I am dating someone or I am in a relationship with them. I try to avoid using terms like my boyfriend or my girlfriend or my partner when I can. Although I do on occasion use them to simplify conversations, for the most part, I prefer to establish who they are in relation to me and then just use their names. For me, it removes the pressure of having certain titles or labels and needing to fulfill them or meet society's definition. I find with my more recent relationships that traditional relational labels don't seem to match the dynamic. It feels liberating and expansive to not be confined to a label. Lastly, I don't recall where this piece of advice comes from, but I live by it every day, and it has changed and improved all of my relational dynamics. It's the idea that love is not finite, and it's not limited to only one person on this planet. There is no such thing as the one. Love is expansive, and a gift that we give and receive. Love can and should be shared beyond the romantic. I hope that some of this advice serves you the way it has served me in my relationships. I'll be sharing more tips and advice on Instagram and TikTok. You can find us at headsouth.world. Until next time, I hope you have a great week. Special thanks to all of our guests. Head South is hosted by Kat Meyer, produced by Isis Barlow, edited by Megan Hook, with music by Lily Rezi Rothman, graphics by Ella Chodos Irvine, cover art by Gina Ship Casey, and intro by Murph Meyer.
If you're looking for me, I'm heading south. All year round, I'm going down. Now you know where I'll be, I'm heading south. So Come on, look